What up, sports fans? This is Jake Waxman
and Tyler Lavalette
coming to you from the studio here in Waterford with another Friday Roundtable. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter weekend. All right, and now with that being said, Tyler Lavalette, take it away.
Absolutely. First of all, 2 weeks ago, I was not here. I was out in Kalamazoo for a hockey tournament, series tournament. I had fun. We also saw Western Michigan win their first national championship in men's hockey over the weekend. That was fun to experience as well. And as you can see with the shirt with Jake that he has now, and we will get back into why we had to change it for a little bit, but I won that for him during one of the silent auction items.
First of all, before we get started talking about the sports, a huge, huge thank you to my friend Tyler Lavalette, who won this T-shirt for me in a bid. Obviously, he was the highest bidder on the shirt, so Tyler, massive props to you. And also, this was the thing that in the last Friday Roundtable that I did, I was alluding to this. This was what Tyler was out doing and why he was absent the previous episodes. He was doing good work for good causes. And okay, yes, this is the T-shirt he won for me. There's actually a bit of a reason why this is on. Oh, God. Sports fans, I almost screwed up big time today. I almost became one with the green screen. I was originally wearing a really light green Chicago Cubs T-shirt. I was wearing one that's kind of more about Wrigley Field than the Chicago Cubs. I wore that today. I thought it'd be a cool thing to wear. Cubs are playing baseball today. But dang it, I forgot one important thing when it comes to this studio. You cannot, and I do mean you cannot wear too light of a green around this green screen right here, or else your shirt's going to turn invisible, and you're going to look like Harry Potter when he puts the invisible cloak, the visibility cloak on. I became one with the green screen today, behind the scenes. And if you guys want photographic proof, I'll share it with. Oh my God.
Yeah, we'll share it then on our page or something. It's just
So if you guys want your goof moment of the week, there it is. I provided it for you. I wish I would have taken a photo of myself in it. Oh my goodness! Like the text on the shirt showed up, but the shirt itself blended in with the background, so it made it look like my body was gone, and I was like, "Yep, just my head and my arms." Oh, man.
Yeah, it would have just been embarrassing. The comment section would have just blown up about it. But all is good. We fixed it. And anyway, let's get on to some fun baseball with our two teams that have been having a good April to start things out.
That's right. And we'll start with Tyler's Detroit Tigers. And so far, looking pretty good right now with a 15-10 record. And how about this? They're in command right now of the American League Central. Absolutely incredible. And they have a 10-3 home record. Big reason why the Tigers are pretty much looking really strong to start this new baseball season.
Absolutely. I want to point out that tonight's game against the Orioles has been postponed to tomorrow. There will be a split doubleheader with Game 1 at 1:10 p.m. and a Game 2 around 6:40 p.m. The tickets for tonight's game does not grant you into the other game. It's for Game 2. So, just a heads up. Unfortunately, with the weather tonight, no game. But in the last game prior, because of the off day, Javier Baez helped make sure the Padres were blanked out thanks to this amazing Willie Mays-like catch in the top of the 8th. Can we see that clip, please? All right, here we go. Just watch. Watch. And
oh, he caught that?
Yeah.
That's incredible. No wonder why that guy's clapping.
Watch the replay. Just watch. He's thinking the ball was going yard. And then nope, it was not going. It was likely dying when it ended. So when it was going down. So it wasn't going to be gone. It was going to be definitely a couple of hits, a couple of bases at that.
Yeah, it would have been like, I guess, a double in that case.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
If he had not caught it. It's still an incredible catch, though.
That it is.
Nice tracking. It's going right towards the back wall, too. And that guy, Javier Baez, a former Chicago Cub. Sorry, Tigers fans. I got to bring it up. I know he's one of you now, but in my heart, he's always a Cub. But great catch, great save by Javier Baez. And another one of those reasons that the Tigers are looking really strong. In addition to, right now, great offense, they've also got really strong defense.
Honestly, who expected Javier Baez to be a really good center fielder all this time? But yeah, guys like Riley Green's doing okay. Kerry Carpenter's been doing good. Spencer Torkelson has been pretty awesome. And seriously, my mom is a Torque fan. I am planning to definitely get her one of those T-shirt jerseys for her at some point.
I tell you what, speaking of Spencer Torkelson, or Torque as some of you like to call him, fitting nickname for him because he's playing for the Motor City. How about this? Spencer Torkelson, he leads the team with runs right now. 17 runs total. He's the Tigers' leader in runs scored. And Zach McKinstry, this is a guy I've been keeping my eye on for the Detroit Tigers. Right now, he's leading the team in batting average with .311.
Wow.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that it is. And there's also one thing to consider about the Tigers right now. We're right up there, either leading or close to the Yankees in the overall AL race. Now, granted, it's April, and it's way too early to start thinking October baseball. But if we're just going based on how this first month have been going alone, I like how the Tigers have been doing these days. A lot can happen, yes, and will happen, but the start has been good, and it's just been a fun to enjoy for once.
Absolutely. Honestly, Tyler has said it. He's impressed with what the Tigers are doing, and you know what? I'm not too surprised they're doing as well as they are. I mean, they had that momentum, all that momentum at the end of the season. They rode that wave of momentum into the playoffs, and they almost rode it into the ALCS. And right now, the Tigers, they're still riding that wave of momentum into an entirely new season. They are playing really fantastic baseball, and it's allowed them even to the point where they're kind of experimenting a bit too with some other prospects. Like, for example, they called up a right-hand pitcher by the name of Chase Lee from AAA Toledo. So, and being this early in the season and when things are going well, you kind of have that luxury right now to kind of play around with the lineups, see what other pieces you have that could bring something to the table come September or October.
Yep, and honestly, I watched footage of that game on Tuesday night, and really, to see Chase's wife and the newborn son there. Now, his son is definitely not old enough to have understood what happened, being a baby and all, but he's gonna probably think fondly of that once he gets the older he gets. Yeah.
Life is precious. Yeah. Spend time with your loved ones and even the little ones as much as you can. No, don't blame. But honestly, with all that being said, you know what? Good times for the Motor City right now. Of course, the Lions, they got a chance to make a push for the Super Bowl this year. I mean, they're not done yet, in my opinion.
Nope.
You also got, Red Wings, they're getting better, okay?
We're trying.
Doing their best. But right now, I'm pretty sure right now, Detroit's focus, of course, has got to be on the Tigers, and for good reason. And, being a guy who's been to so many Tigers games, and I'm not even a Tigers fan, but the vibe in Detroit right now in terms of baseball has to be really good. The summer vibe is going to be it's going to be hopping in Detroit come baseball. Even when the Tigers are not doing well, Detroit's hopping, much like Wrigley Field. But with the Tigers doing as well as they're doing, and if they can keep this up, having the lead in the AL Central and having guys like Zach McKinstry and Spencer Torkelson who are just constantly continuing to produce and continuing to, contribute to the overall success of the Tigers, man, Motown is they're hopping. And you know what? If me and Tyler end up going to a game at Comerica Park, which I hope we get to do that, the vibe, I'm looking forward to seeing what that vibe is going to be like. Because I've seen when Detroit baseball is when the Tigers are doing well, Comerica's hopping.
That it is. And I've even seen it with the Lions games too. So the vibe in downtown is good. Also, another player that's doing okay, Kerry Carpenter. There's a reason we keep calling him Kerry Bonds here in Detroit. he's also done pretty good to start the season so far as well for a couple of home runs.
I'm gonna add this to that. It's important to have carpenters in society. And you know what? Okay, jokes aside, whatever you want to say, important to have a carpenter on your team because carpenters help build. They help build structure. And right now, having a guy like Carpenter on the team and with the production he's had, it's helping to build this team's potential to do a whole lot of damage come October.
Someone let the Tigers get hot late last season, and it's still getting hot.
I will also say this. Wasn't my Cubs. Hands are clean. Their hands are clean on this. Blame their brothers on South Side, I believe. They let them get hot.
Seriously. The Tigers were lucky to have a winning Chicago trip because of playing the White Sox for 4 games. So they didn't do too good against the Cubs at Wrigley, especially the game we went to with all those miscues we saw. And speaking of the Cubs, Jacob.
That's right. The Tigers right now, they're not the only team right now that is doing really well. Wow. How about the Chicago Cubs right now? They look incredible. And clearly, my man Tyler saw something that I didn't so far in this season. And you guys want to see how strong this Cubs team look? You want to know how good they're doing? Let this clip speak for the Cubs. Can we see the clip, please? How about this? Boom! How about this home run by the one and only Pete Crow Armstrong? Great hit. This ended up being a triple run, so allowing the Cubs to take the lead against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Chicago would wind up going on to win this game 7-6. And how about this? So 2 home games against the Dodgers. Not only did the Cubs win both of these games, they scored a combined 23 runs.
Wow.
My goodness.
Here's the thing. They're done facing the Dodgers. They played 3 in L.A., but, of course, 2 of their home games were the 2 in Japan to start the season.
Absolutely. And obviously, we've mentioned how good the vibe is around Wrigley Field and, of course, Comerica. The vibe's got to be hot. Like, just put the hands in the air like you just don't care. Put your hands in the air like you got a good times going. Right now, the Cubs, things are going their way. Obviously, here's the big thing. Something that I can't say I really saw coming. Like the Tigers leading the AL Central, the Cubs are leading the NL Central with a record of 16-10. Their home record is 8-5. Not quite as good as the Tigers, but still a very solid homestand. And I just got to say, here's a big reason why the Cubs look as good as they do right now. And the big reason they're doing as well as they're doing, it's something that has actually plagued them for many, many seasons. How about this? The bats for the Chicago Cubs are as loud as they get right now. The Cubs, much like the Tigers, they are showing prowess on offense. They lead the MLB in runs scored with 163. And they actually, believe it or not, I couldn't believe this myself when I looked this up, Tyler. The Cubs are also leading the MLB in batting average.
Now that stuff's impressive. I guess you definitely can blame the outward blowing Lake Michigan winds helping there because we all know that how important of a advantage that could be or a disadvantage because those winds don't necessarily play favors, mind you, and along things like the basket and the ivy covered brick wall in the outfield. Mm-hmm. Those things don't necessarily play favors, but still. North Side is definitely hopping. I'm not saying that a place like Vines you went to after the game or Murphy's or Sluggers have been struggling over these days and all, but because they would have definitely been hopping no matter what, but because it's Wrigleyville and what have you. But they're definitely hopping right now.
There's a lot to feel good about with this Cubs. I'm impressed with them. I know it's still early in the season, but watching the way they step up to bat has been just. I've been wowed by the Cubs. They have made a lot of positive changes, especially on the offensive side, and it shows. And Tyler mentioned this, too. The Cubs are going to have a pretty big advantage going in. One big advantage the Cubs are going to have going into the rest of the season is that the hardest part of their schedule is now behind them. They're done playing the Los Angeles Dodgers for the year. And they beat them. Maybe not in Tokyo, of course, but back on U.S. soil, they beat them. And they beat them good at Wrigley.
I want to bring up, speaking of the Dodgers, I want to bring up the fact that the Tigers started their season in L.A., got swept by the Dodgers in all 3 games. So that gauntlet for us is over, too.
Huh. Similar paths. So are you saying we might be on similar paths, potentially to the World Series, my man?
Let's not think too hard about this. Baseball is a marathon, not a sprint.
That is absolutely true. I just couldn't help but when you say stuff like that, I just couldn't help but think, maybe Tyler's forecasting World Series. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's that meme from Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance? But here's the thing, maybe. But talk to me when we get into crunch time. Talk to me when we get past the All-Star game and the trade deadline. Talk to me when we get more towards the late September playoff races.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we got a ways to go.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Plenty of things to do. And, like I said, Cubs offense right now, looking really strong. But, of course, there's some things and you know what? Like Tyler said, sprint, it's not a sprint. It's an absolute marathon. And the Cubs, they know that this is a marathon. And there are things that can be worked on. The defense does need work, all right? And bullpen, okay? We still got a lot of work to do there because we're still letting up a lot of runs. That's my big concern. Can the Cubs defense improve throughout the season? Right now, with that being said, though, as of now, with the way, if this offense can just keep batting away as they are, they're looking like a playoff contender at the very least. I don't know if they'll be, I mean, some people have them as a World Series contender. I'm a little skeptical. Let's pump the brakes there. We'll see, all seriousness. But they've got a shot at not only making the playoffs, but making it as potentially the team that wins the wild NL Central. And as I mentioned, hardest part of their schedule is behind them. They're still good teams they'll play along the way, but right now a lot of the games that they have, or a lot of the series they have, I mean, they've already played the Padres, and they scored a couple wins against the Padres, and they don't have to play the Dodgers again. So that's kind of a boost right there. And to add on to this, one of the big reasons why this offense is humming, or just the bats are just absolutely, mighty hot right now. You got guys like Kyle Tucker. You got guys like, I mentioned, Pete Crow Armstrong, who hit that home run.
Good old PCA.
Yep, those guys have stepped it up. Pete was a big free agent addition for the Cubs.
He had to call up.
Oh, that's right.
A few seasons ago.
Even better. And Ian Happ doing Ian Happ things. What else is new? And right now, Kyle Tucker has 25 RBIs, leads the team in RBIs, and a batting average of 3.314. And let's not overlook the work that Craig Counsell is doing with the Chicago Cubs. Right now, he's performing wonders.
Absolutely. Sure, Brewer fans are so salty that he left. But we'll see about what happens when we get to those 4 series matchups.
Absolutely. Like I said, you know what? The summer's a long one. And we'll see if this Chicago Cubs team can maintain that momentum that they have right now. Long summer. They got to, especially going into the All-Star game, got to keep that momentum. Can't have too many. I mean, you're going to have some games where the bats are quiet, no question. But if the Cubs can have more games than not where the bats are how they were against the Dodgers, this team can make it to September and October. This is a playoff team if they keep this up. Simple as that. Just, and if that defense can improve, and if Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, Ian Happ, they keep leading this team. And if Craig Counsell continues to tinker but make the right adjustments as the season goes along, this is a Cubs team that we will see in October then.
I feel the same way about the Tigers. Some guys like Riley Green could use some help, might have some struggle times, but also still do good. But yeah, I just kind of don't want to get my hopes too high with the Tigers. I mean, I just saw that Yahoo Sports is going all in on our guys, but I'm not saying I'm sold on this team yet because, like I said, it's only April, but I'm just saying that the things are looking promising right now. Won't be able to see any baseball tonight, but can't do anything about Mother Nature.
I mean, right now, the Cubs are currently playing the Phillies, and Tyler had told me that they have taken the lead, especially after there was a long weather delay at Wrigley, from what I can understand.
Yeah, and my understanding is when anything, a system is causing issues in Chicago along Lake Michigan, chances are you're likely going to get in Detroit.
Yep, no doubt about it. They're not all that far apart. But both cities right now, Motown and Chi-Town, they got one thing in common. There's a lot of hope right now for their favorite baseball teams. Tigers continuing to make progress and looking like a playoff team, and the Cubs off to a really strong start. And with the hardest part of their schedule behind them, they've got a great shot at making the postseason this year. That was my hope. If they make the postseason, I'll be really happy. That is for sure. And on one final note, is it just me, or am I feeling vibes all the way from 2016? Because the Cubs have not looked this good since 2016, especially when it comes to stepping up to the plate and batting and hitting home runs and whatnot.
I don't know. Some of us in Detroit haven't felt this since before we ever even born. I haven't felt this. For me, I mean, not even 06 had this much of a good run. I mean, someone just looking past how they were in '84, and minus the long stretch they had to start the season with their winning streak that year. But still, things are looking promising to start.
Yeah, absolutely for both of our teams. And to clarify, not saying the Cubs are going to win the World Series this year. I don't think they will. But what the production I see from them, especially up to bat, it reflects things that I saw in 2016. In terms of, and those 2016 Cubs, one of the best Cubs teams I've ever seen, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So if whether you're a Cubs fan or a Tigers fan, you got a lot to smile about right now, because both of those two teams, they are batting it out. They are in full swing.
And if you're a White Sox fan, before we transition onward, I have one thing to say. I am sorry for how things have been going these days.
It's tough to... I feel bad for the diehard White Sox fans. I will say that. But being a Cubs fan, it just doesn't bother me. I'm happy the Cubs are doing well. Happy Tigers are doing well. I just don't think as much about the White Sox. All right, they are what they are.
They're just basically easy wins when you think about it. I mean,
I was going to say
Tigers opening series at home was a clean sweep across the board, including a Spencer Torkelson walk-off hit in the ninth. But still, I feel like those 4 games you play against them in the Crosstown series are going to be easy Sox wins, Cubs wins. Cubs wins, but. And they're definitely going to there's going to be a lot of blue at Rate Stadium.
Yeah, Rate Stadium. You know, if I'd give the White Sox a low rating for their performance last year, but should be an intriguing summer for both the Cubs and the White Sox, and as well as the Tigers. Of course, like I said, Cubs and Tigers, a lot of promise there. As far as the White Sox go, not going to say you're out. I'm just saying right now there's question marks and still a lot more questions than answers for them.
At least you have company in the Twins.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right, sports fans, we are shifting gears to last night's first round from the 2025 NFL Draft. Can we please roll a clip? So this is just, for the record, this is just some crappy footage I took from last night. The Indianapolis Colts drafting Tyler Warren at number 14. But NFL Draft, full of a couple surprises and a couple of things that we didn't expect. The biggest thing that I will say, biggest surprise that happened from last night, I thought there'd be a trade in the top 5, but I was not expecting Cleveland and Jacksonville to trade the 2nd and 5th picks. That almost never happens. I don't think we've seen anything like that since, I believe, when the Bears traded up with the 49ers, picks 2 and 3, Bears ended up taking Mitchell Trubisky, and, well, that didn't end so well for the Bears.
Benefit of the doubt, though. I'll give you that. One that gets me is that Shahir Sanders guy not getting picked at all in the first round. Thank you. But, yeah, that is just a surprise. I don't know what team saw in him that threw up red flags, and I don't even know myself, but it's just odd to have seen this guy's stocks plummet so bad. What did the 32 teams not see in him to make him a first-round pick?
You know what? The only answer I can give you for that question, Tyler, is hype machines. Gotta love them.
Thank you, Mel Kiper.
Here's the thing. Which I honestly thought Shedeur Sanders was going to be taken at least in the first round. If I had him going number 9 overall to the New Orleans Saints. They were a quarterback needy team. I thought they might be looking at him, but turns out he's probably not the guy they're looking at. But I still could be wrong. They went with someone else instead, or a bigger position of need. There's questions there in terms of Derek Carr's health. So I have no doubt the Saints probably are going to take a quarterback later, but I'm not sure it's going to be Shedeur Sanders. Now, I butchered that pronunciation.
Ugh.
So I think what's going on is, here's the thing. The quarterback class for this year's draft it's looking pretty weak, to be honest. I'm not even sure how I feel about the number 1 pick in Cam Ward, who's going to the Tennessee Titans. He might be I think he's the best quarterback in this draft, no question. We'll see how he does. And I feel the same way about Shedeur Sanders. I'm not sure he's as good as, like, say, Neon Deion Sanders, his father, is pumping him up to be, or primetime Sanders. Maybe this slip in the draft will be the best thing that happens to Shedeur Sanders, and he becomes a great player and proves a lot of people wrong. But I just have my doubts about him, and I think a lot of NFL teams have their doubts about him as well.
Yeah, I always say this about Green Bay. They're still doing a good job as a host, but given how small that city is, when you go from Detroit, that record we broke last year is not likely to get touched anytime soon. So, on the attendance mark.
No, yeah. I mean, and as much as, Green Bay, great host for the draft so far, but I agree with Tyler. I thought Detroit rocked it out. It was the environment, especially the locate. I mean, I know it was outside of Lambeau Field, but I kind of like Detroit's draft, like, in terms of, like, where the draft stage was set up, Tyler. I think Detroit kind of did a better job.
Yeah, using Hart Plaza and Campus Martius were great optics there.
I think and that's a draft I'll probably remember much more than this one, just because the Bears got Caleb Williams, and I'm biased towards my Bears. Other things I thought we'd talk about. So both Tyler and our teams, they had picks in the first round. I'll start with the Bears, who drafted Colston Loveland at number 10, the tight end. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. This pick surprised me. I did not in any, I made draft predictions. I was like, no way in heck the Bears are going to take a tight end this year, are they? I really didn't see that coming. I thought they would either trade up to go get Ashton Jenney, or they would, and if that didn't work, they would trade back then. I had them trading down with Indianapolis, and who actually, by the way, I thought Indy would take Tyler Warren. That ended up happening. I thought that would happen at number 10. So I'm not 100% accurate with that prediction. But Tyler Warren was there. So, and I thought the Bears would go either D-line or O-line. So when they went tight end, this kind of surprised me. And especially, let alone, getting Michigan tight end Colston Loveland. But you know what? Hey, every NFL team has to have a Michigan fan, and the Bears are no exception to that.
Heck, Cleveland has a pair of them.
That's right.
And Detroit got a guy from Ohio State.
How about that for something interesting? And we'll have to get in on that. So before we get into the Lions pick real quick, so I was surprised by the Bears taking tight end Colston Loveland. My opinion on it is neutral. I'll wait and see how he does. I'm happy to have him on the team. Happy he's a Bear. Maybe. And I have a feeling that Ben Johnson, he's got a plan with this guy. I think this is a guy that Ben Johnson really wanted. So it would not surprise me to learn that it wasn't Ryan Poles who picked this guy, but rather the new coach, Ben Johnson. He must have seen something. I think he saw something in Colston Loveland that he really likes. And Loveland has a lot of athleticism and speed, which really helps. Has great hands, can run routes, which I think is something that will help Caleb Williams out a lot. So if this was, like I said, coach's pick, this doesn't surprise me then because, maybe in a way, Coach Ben Johnson was looking for that Sam Laporta that he had in Detroit. He was looking for a guy like him. And when you think about comparisons, it does kind of seem like Colston Loveland does kind of remind me of Sam Laporta a bit. So I'm just going to wait and see how he does. And you know what? If he does well, it's a good pick then. And for now, I will say Colston Loveland, welcome to the Windy City and welcome to the Bears.
Yeah, I hope Johnson does well as coach, but of course the Lions fan me still thinks he's going to go down regardless. But besides that, I still wish he does well. I don't know if his pick has Johnson's fingerprints on it, but it definitely seems like it does.
That's just how it feels, at least for now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now I will say this: so the Lions, they had the 28th pick, and to no one's surprise, they went defense. I thought they might go safety, but that was just a wild prediction. Okay, I knew going into this draft, I'm probably going to be way out of my league and have no idea what the heck I'm talking about when I make these predictions because anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, the Lions, after what happened last season, I mean, that defense, it got beaten up, blown the heck, whatever you want to say. A lot of injuries. So, getting a guy like Tyleik Williams from Ohio State fills a big need for Detroit. And I think they got the best player they could have at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The go on defense for that was a smart move. They still have faith in Jared Goff. They like what they've got elsewhere with the Sun God and other players. And they did re-sign Kirby Joseph, so that's important. And you got things you got to focus on, and defense was crucial after the fact that the Commanders exposed us pretty badly in the divisional round. But that was important to get that rectified in some capacity, and they did just that. Smart move.
Absolutely. Good. I mean, the common sense move for the Lions, pretty much. You got to go somewhere on safety or defense. They could have gone safety, could have gone anywhere on defense, and it would have made perfect sense. Originally, I just rolled with the dice. I had him taking Malaki Starks, who unfortunately went before the Lions had a chance to go get him. And originally, I had the Bears taking an interior offensive lineman by the name of Tyler Booker. Of course, the Bears did not trade down. They ended up with a tight end. All right, and probably not the one I thought they would end up with. The one I thought, like if they were going to take a tight end. Okay, to clarify, I never thought they were going to take a tight end, okay? If they're going to take a tight end, I would have thought they would have taken Tyler Warren, but he ends up going to Indianapolis. That's a good pick for Indy. And I just got to say, the Travis Hunter story right now is really interesting. Jacksonville, whoo boy, oh my goodness. We'll see because Travis Hunter, here's the thing. He can play a couple of positions. He's not only going to play wide receiver, he's actually going to play corner too for the Jaguars. Jacksonville, get this. They gave up to move up to number 2 and trade with Cleveland, who ended up trading down. They traded a second round, third round, a fourth round, and their 2026 first round pick.
Wow.
That is a steep price to pay. If you're a Jaguars fan, pressure's on. You're thinking, all right, pressure's on. Let's hope this guy's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Now you know how, and the Lions definitely ran from that Stafford Goff trade with all the draft cap they got.
Turned into a lot of great players on that Lions team, which they use from. That's the luxury of giving away some pieces just to get a whole lot of. Hey, draft picks are obviously very valuable, and Detroit did a really good job building the team with what they got in that Matthew Stafford trade. That trade, both teams won.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams got the ring they were hoping for, and Detroit, still a lot of promise there and a chance to finally get to the Super Bowl this season.
Uh-huh.
A couple other things I want to get to. I mean, we mentioned Shedeur Sanders. So speaking of second-round picks, we know Shedeur Sanders is probably going to headline the second round pick. So here's some guys that I think the Bears are going to be looking at. First guy to keep an eye on, a guy by the name of Travion Henderson from Ohio State. He's a running back. Supposedly the Bears are looking for a running back in this draft. They were looking at Ashton Jenney. They were hoping to trade up. That didn't work. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears are taking a look at Henderson, who's out of Ohio State. So if they draft Travion Henderson, the Bears will be stoking that rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
You're going to have some drama there. We also got another guy by a cornerback by the name of Will Johnson from where else but Michigan. So the Bears have a chance to get not one, but two Michigan men. Why not, if they decide to go that direction? And third and final guy I'm going to mention, this is a guy I really like. He did play for Purdue, and now he's playing for Texas A&M. A guy by the name of Nick Scorton. He plays edge for Texas A&M. He's, I think, probably the best edge available in the second round of the draft. That's just me, of course. If I'm the Bears, I would take a really good look at this guy because I think you can plug him into the defensive line. The Bears, they need to fix up that defensive line. There's no question about that, and I think Nick Scorton in this case would be a very, very good pick. Unless, of course, your Lions beat the Bears to the punch there, Tyler.
We'll see how that second and third rounds go tonight.
Yes, we will. I mean, here's the thing. Your Detroit Lions, Tyler, they have a knack for drafting Purdue Boilermakers, so why not Nick Scorton if he falls into their laps?
Let's see how things work out tonight.
Absolutely. Sports fans, we hope you're enjoying the NFL draft as much as we are. And now, me and Tyler are going to shift gears. Tyler, how about them Pistons?
I mentioned that they came back from that bad season in 23-24, and now they're in the playoffs. Unfortunately, they lost last night to the New York Knicks in a close game, and will play again Sunday afternoon at LCA. But seriously, to have this team in the playoffs was not something I expected at the start of the season at all. I don't follow the Pistons as much because I knew how bad they were, but to see them suddenly have this competent run that they've been on these days is impressive. It's crazy to think that they're the ones that went from being a laughingstock in the recent times in Detroit to now the Wings somewhat having that laughingstock in Detroit right now. It's just wow.
And you know what? The thing that comes to my mind when it comes to this is the Pistons lost Jaden Ivey on the season, one of their best players, and yet led by Cade Cunningham, they've balled out this season, not only improving upon what they did in the disastrous season they had last year, but what a turnaround. Just to go from where they were last year to make the playoffs, despite losing Jaden Ivey, is nothing short of remarkable. And they're going toe-to-toe with the New York Knicks. There's still a chance, and they got a chance to pull an upset and give headaches to New York Knicks Nation.
Yeah, some of those guys fans are a bit cocky on the interwebs, and they're not exactly the most friendliest of people you want to hang around with. Trust me.
I mean, I've heard of Yankees fans being a bit just really bad behaved, but Knicks fans I heard can be. I kind of pity Knicks fans because they've been through a lot of pain and all that stuff. And the team, they're finally in the playoffs. We'll see if finally they could do well enough to build a championship caliber team. And same with the Pistons. You know, this is a good step forward for them in terms of building a championship caliber team. Something funny I thought you'd like to know, Tyler. So apparently one of my relatives who goes by the name Sammy, he apparently, he's a big Chicago sports fan, yet when it comes to the NBA, he likes the New York Knicks. How do I make sense of that?
What? I guess the Bulls are not doing too good enough for you, huh?
Oh, yeah, even I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, they got lots in the play-in tournament, but still, they're not bad, but they're not contending for the finals anytime soon.
Yeah.
This isn't the 90s, people.
Yeah, those days are long. The 90s are long past. All right, the Michael Jordan era. Okay, Michael Jordan's still around. He still has a huge influence on basketball. But come on, we're not going to see that kind of Bulls team anytime soon.
No.
And I will say, my uncle TJ, by the way, he said, I'm going to send him a text saying, go Pistons. I think he actually did that. I don't know what the response was, but I think my uncle TJ actually did that. If I known what actually happened, I would tell you that story. Two teams I've also been keeping an eye on in the NBA playoffs. I've watched a little bit of it. I've been keeping an eye on the Memphis Grizzlies, who Zach Edey is playing for. Mm-hmm. He's doing it the best he can, but right now I think the Oklahoma City Thunder so far, they look to be too much for Memphis.
Yeah, everyone's going to say it's the Thunder out of the West. We'll see.
Absolutely. They look good. That's a really good Oklahoma City team right now. And for Memphis, hey, you made the playoffs, and with Zach Edey and John Morant in your arsenal, the future's bright for those Memphis Grizzlies, no matter what they do in the postseason.
Unless Morant decides to keep doing stuff with firearms or gestures, imitating guns, mind you.
John Morant, don't they know? They will lock you up for that stuff. Don't mess around with firearms, bruh.
You got suspended, got in hot water once, and you do the gestures, and you're getting hot water again. Why?
Yeah, I don't know either. I couldn't tell you. I haven't heard anything about that, but just learning that just now, that just goes to show how stardom can get into the heads of some people. And for John Morant, so far, I wonder if that's also been a distraction for the Grizzlies. I've also been keeping my eye on the Pacers, and hopefully, that's a team that kind of fell short in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics.
Right.
Maybe this year could be the year, but we'll see.
Yep. We'll see how it goes for Indiana's basketball team.
Hey, I'm from the state of Indiana, so I'll admit I'm rooting for the Pacers. But I also like Memphis, just because I like Zach Edey, too.
Fair enough.
Now, anyway, to close this quick subject out, hey, Pistons right now, regardless of what they do in this postseason, future's looking much brighter for them, and they got a good direction. Just got to keep building on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Things are promising.
Yes, they are. And we'll close off this show by a few other side subjects. We're going to talk about how things are going in the NHL playoffs. So, right now, Stanley Cup playoffs. The Jets right now lead the Blues 2-1. Blues absolutely killed the Jets yesterday. So that series is going to be really back and forth. And with Jordan Binnington in goal for the Blues, it's not going to be easy for the Jets to win this series. Mm-hmm. A lot of pressure on the Jets, who won the President's Trophy. And Lord knows the curse that trophy, that plagues that trophy, and whatever team or whoever wins that. I just hope the Jets aren't next. I want to see them at least. I want to see the Jets win the Stanley Cup. That's who I'm rooting for, but it would not surprise me if they flame out in the first round because curse of the President's Trophy.
Yep, that thing goes burr.
I was going to say, and the last team to win that trophy and win the Stanley Cup in the same year, 2013 Chicago Blackhawks. And we almost lost to your Red Wings that year.
Ooh, you got lucky there.
Yeah, we did. No question. That curse could have been continued right there. Speaking of the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs, though, Minnesota leading Vegas 2-1 at the moment. Should be a really good series. Minnesota looks really tough right now. Leafs lead the Senators 3-0. Oh, hey, Ottawa, it's time to get something going there, or this could be a short stay in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Come on, this is the Maple Leafs. You can come back against the Leafs. And I like the Maple Leafs, but everybody likes to make fun of them.
This Battle of Ontario is looking up to be a joke.
Uh-oh. Yeah. You know what? I just thought of something. It's either going to be a joke, as Tyler just said, or a choke. If you're the Leafs.
It's going to go down one way or another.
Something's going to happen. I just don't know what. So far, though, the Leafs look like they're going to take care of the Senators. Mm-hmm. Florida leads Tampa 2-0 right now in the Battle of Florida. Panthers proven mightier than the Bolts.
That state is proving to be a hockey powerhouse. They've got a couple of Stanley Cup titles between both in Miami and Tampa.
3 total, too. No small number.
Nope.
Dallas leading Colorado 2-1. This is going to be an excellent series. These are two of the best teams in the NHL, and two of the best at the very least in the Western Conference. You got the Stars, and you got the Avalanche, who won a Stanley Cup back in 2022. Some people are saying like whoever wins between the Jets and the Blues could win the Stanley Cup. Don't overlook either Dallas or Colorado. Two really good teams, two powerhouse, especially when you got Nathan McKinnon and Jake Ottinger for each team. Ottinger playing goal for Dallas, and of course McKinnon, who leads the Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
And then Caps leave the Habs 2-1. So Caps proving mightier than the Habs, or at least in the battle of what could be the Habs or the Habs not. Sorry, I know that was a really bad pun, sports fans.
Yeah, not having pens in there kind of ruins things a little.
Yeah.
Like the old NBC posts they would do with the cap pens.
Caps and pens. Well, the Pens missed the playoffs.
Yeah, so yeah, they can't. Not back then, NBC doesn't even air hockey begin with killed those funny photos every time now.
No doubt about it. Oh, funny time. Man, things were so much different, even just 10 years ago.
Yeah, they were simpler times.
The Los Angeles Kings right now lead the Oilers 2-0. Come on, Connor McDavid. Come on, Edmonton. I need you to do something. I'm rooting for you. All right, I know the Kings are hard to beat at home, but the Oilers went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. But they're in a hole right now. It's always tough to get back.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Oilers want to get back, got to get things going. Got to get McDavid going. Got to stop giving up goals too. I mean, Stuart Skinner right now is off to a really tough start in the playoffs too. And finally, the Hurricanes lead the Devils 2-0 right now. Right now, the Devils, props to them for getting as far as they've gotten, but right now the Hurricanes look like the mightier team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going on right now in the NHL. If I spread any misinformation or forgot to tally a game that just happened, I apologize. There are more games tonight. And finally, we're going to close this. Dang it. I really did not want to close this show on a sad note, but today I have no choice. So I want to send out my thoughts and prayers, and my heart goes out to the family of Steve McMichael, or the person we called Mongo. Played for the 85 Bears and was nominated elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame last year. And after a brave fight with ALS, just a few days ago, he passed away. So thinking about his family at this time.
May he rest in peace.
And rest in peace, Steve Mongo McMichael. And I also want to send my hearts and my thoughts and prayers out. Sadly, this accident involves Purdue. So, for those of you who don't know, the Boilermaker Special, that's Purdue's official mascot. It's a train, or a specially designed truck that's designed to look like a train.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I hate to... It pains me to have to say this, but the Boilermaker Special was sadly involved in a fatal accident outside of Lafayette.
Oh, no.
2 days ago. And while the two students who were on board the Boilermaker Special survived, the lady who driving the minivan who was hit did not survive. So, thinking a lot about the family of this lady who passed away in this terrible accident. Thoughts and prayers there too, and thoughts and prayers to everybody who's going through tough times like this right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, God be with those people. Sports fans, and with that is all we got for today's Wax on Wednesday. First of all, like I said, anything you guys want to say in the comments, any questions you have for me and Tyler, we are happy to answer that. And any comments you just want to say about the show, we're whatever feedback or criticisms you have, me and Tyler, we are happy to respond to that too.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to follow us on Two Guys Talk Sports on Facebook and Two Guys Talk Sports and other things on YouTube. Be sure to follow us. We try to post a video every Friday, and I try to do my Wax on Wednesdays every Wednesday. So, with all that being said, we are ready to sign off for this week. We hope you've enjoyed this week's Wax on Wednesday. Sorry. This week's Friday Roundtable. Somebody please just throw something at me. I'm losing my mind over here. First it was the T-shirt. Now this. Oh, my God. Low cow of the day.
Yeah.
All right. With all that being said, we hope you enjoyed this week's Friday Roundtable. This is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Lavalette.
Wishing you all a good weekend. Enjoy the NFL draft. Take care, everyone.